Hello everyone, we're Khan Studio, and today's video is a recap of The Lost City, a wild jungle adventure of two city folks in search of a mythical lost city. They also get hunted down by a powerful tycoon. How will it end? Before we dive in, please like and share to support the channel. Let's see how fun this gets. The whole story begins inside the imagination of Loretta Sage, a famous author of romantic adventure novels. She's writing her latest book, a sequel to her wildly successful series. The protagonist is an archaeologist in search of the Crown of Fire. In her mind, Loretta becomes the leading actress, braving dangers with the strong and handsome Dash McMahon. As she visualizes the suspenseful scene, Loretta realizes it doesn't quite feel right. She snaps back to reality, deletes the rough draft, and checks a voice message. It's Faith, her publisher's marketing head. Faith urges her to finish the manuscript in time for the book launch. A longtime friend and colleague, Faith encourages her to get out more, explore the world, and heal, knowing full well Loretta still hasn't moved on from the loss of her beloved husband. Even after all these years, that night, out of responsibility, Loretta forces herself to write the ending, though she feels creatively burnt out. Cut to the book promo event for The Lost City. Faith dresses Loretta in a sequin jumpsuit to present a chic, sexy author image. But Loretta feels awkward and out of place in the flashy outfit. Things get worse when she finds out that Alan is also attending. Alan, the cover model for her book, has a habit of stealing the spotlight by dramatically stripping off his shirt at events they've worked together before. But Faith insists fans love Alan, and his presence boosts the book's popularity. He's the face of Dash, the leading actor in her novel, and sales soared when he showed up. The host begins the event and invites Loretta and Alan on stage for an interview. Alan enters in a blonde wig, channeling Dash's character, making a flashy action hero entrance. Fans scream in delight, but Loretta's face tightens. Even the host pays more attention to Alan. She tries interrupting him a few times, killing the vibe. During the Q&A, almost all questions go to Alan. Then, a girl asks Loretta to rip off Alan's shirt just like in the book. Reluctantly, she complies, but her smartwatch gets caught in Alan's wig. She tries pulling free, but he warns her to stop. She doesn't listen. They talk back and forth until she finally yanks it loose. The wig comes flying off. Alan loses balance and falls off the stage. Humiliated and upset, Alan storms off immediately. The unexpected incident abruptly ends the event. Faith scolds Loretta for ruining everything and disappointing fans, but informs her that a magazine team still wants to do an interview. She warns Loretta not to cause more drama. She invested a lot into this promo. Alone in the green room, Loretta says she plans to kill off the leading actor at the end of the book. Alan strongly objects. Fans love him too much. Loretta argues that she's the writer. It's her right to choose the ending. Truth is, Alan doesn't care much about the book itself. He just likes her and wants to keep working with her. Out of concern, he suggests she relax, experience new things, and stop hiding from grief. Instead of isolating at home, Loretta gets defensive over his harsh truth. She tells him to leave and decides to skip the scheduled interview. She orders a ride home through an APP when a black car pulls up outside. She gets in, thinking it's her ride, but a stranger climbs in too and another man is already waiting inside. They're mysterious men sent to kidnap her. One of them tells her someone important wants to meet her, then orders the driver to go. Alan sees her struggling in the car and runs after it, but he's too late. Loretta is taken to meet Abigail Fairfax, a wealthy artifact collector obsessed with rare treasures. He wants the Crown of Fire, just like the one in her book. Turns out, he's read her background. Loretta has a PhD in archaeology and her late husband once researched a tomb of King Calaman, believed to hold the crown. She also showed an interest in ancient languages in her writing. From this, Abigail believes she can decode the tomb's secrets. He says it's on a remote island in the Antarctic called Isla Hundreda. He shows her a key artifact. A fragment of an ancient tablet. He asks her to translate the symbols to find the exact tomb location, offering her any reward she wants. But Loretta refuses, even though the offer is tempting. Worried the volcano near the site might erupt soon, Abigail doesn't wait. He orders his men to sedate her and FLIs her straight to the island. Back at the hotel, Alan explains everything to Baith and the team. Though he reported it, the police won't act yet. Loretta's only been missing a few hours. Worried, Alan contacts Jack, a former special OPS trainer, and asks him to help find her. After learning the situation, Jack advises them to track her smartwatch GPS. Baith follows the tip and discovers Loretta is on a distant island in the Atlantic. Jack promises to bring her back within 48 hours. He and Ellen plan to meet there. Meanwhile, Loretta is taken to a camp set up by Abigail. He reveals that he bought the entire island and has had workers digging for the past year in search of the treasure. At her quarters, Abigail orders his men to tie her to a chair and demands he decipher the symbols on the tablet. Alan arrives and meets Jack, who's agreed to help him find Loretta. Alan gives Jack the phone connected to Loretta's smartwatch and begs to come along, even though he has no combat training. Jack sees his sincerity and agrees to take him, though he warns there's no guarantee of safety. But Alan doesn't care, he just wants to make sure Loretta is safe. Meanwhile, Abigail pressures Loretta to translate the tablet. She does her best, but the results are fake and inconclusive. Frustrated, Abigail demands she try again. At the same time, Jack and Alan move closer to the camp. Jack tells Alan to keep watch. Jack said he'd go in alone, but Alan wouldn't listen and tagged along. Jack showed of elite combat skills like a true SEAL trainer. He beat up a bunch of Abigail's henchmen with ease. Meanwhile, Alan just stood there, awkwardly confused. Still, he tried to help and managed to land a few punches. Eventually, Jack found Loretta. She was stunned when she saw him. He looked like a prince out of a fairy tale. But before he could untie her, the guards caught up. They had to flee in a rush. Still, Loretta secretly grabbed the ancient tablet fragment. Abigail was furious when he found it missing and ordered them to bring her back at once. The two men helped carry Loretta to the car. She kept praising Jack's bravery and charm, which made Alan feel a little jealous. Then, out of nowhere, Jack was ambushed and shot by one of Abigail's men. He died on the spot in front of Loretta. Shocked, Alan quickly carried her still tied to the chair into the car and sped away. While driving, they talked about Jack, fearing he didn't make it. Alan got distracted and nearly drove off a cliff. He hit the brakes just in time, but the jolt threw Loretta out of the car. Alan rushed to untie her. But when they tried to get back in, the car slipped off the edge, taking their bags and phone with it. So they had to climb down the hill to collect whatever they could, splitting up to search. They found the phone completely smashed and useless. Alan suggested they keep walking toward the airport to find help. Meanwhile, Abigail's men were still tracking them and getting closer. Back with Loretta's team, her maid discreetly called the police without letting her grandma find out about the kidnapping. The cops said the FBI would be better suited for this case. As they trekked through the jungle, Alan couldn't help asking who kidnapped her. Loretta explained everything about Abigail. He was a rich lunatic obsessed with the crown of fire. Alan was shocked. It sounded made up. But Loretta explained it's based on historical clues, and she truly believes the crown exists. Deeper in the forest, they heard animal calls. Loretta suggested they follow the river for safety. Alan hesitated at first, but eventually agreed. After crossing to the other side, they thought they were safe until she saw leeches all over Alan. Alan screamed in horror like a little kid. He was too afraid to pull them off himself. Loretta was scared too, but had no choice. He was her only companion. Then the moment took a wild turn. It became a steaming, hilarious scene. Alan stripped down so Loretta could remove the leeches. She was flustered. It was her first time seeing him up close, and his model-worthy body matched the fantasy from her book. Meanwhile, IFI, one of Abigail's men, found a piece of Loretta's clothing floating in a stream. He and the others followed the river trail, convinced that Loretta and Alan had gone this way. Later, they stopped to rest near a waterfall. Loretta explored the area and spotted markings on a cliff, symbols matching the ancient tablet. Comparing the two, she discovered a missing part that referred to King Calaman and his treasure. It said the treasure was buried in the eternal weeping pool. Loretta started to suspect this could be the tomb's hiding place. But seeing Abigail's men closing in, they had no choice but to flee again. Alan got to show off his strength by pushing Loretta up the hill to a cliff edge just before nightfall. That night, as they set up camp, Loretta began to admire Alan more. Despite his quirks, he'd proven to be dependable. She gently applied her facial mask to ease the rash from the leeches on his back. They shared stories, laughter, and the same sleeping spot. Meanwhile, Abigail wasn't giving up. He hired a bulky local guide to ride a dirt bike into the jungle to continue the search. Back to Bath, she decided to go to the island herself. She needed to get there as fast as possible. There was no time to wait for the next flight, so Bath reluctantly boarded a small cargo plane. She had no other option. The next morning, Loretta took out the ancient tablet piece she secretly stole from Abigail. Alan saw it and worried Abigail wouldn't stop until he got it back. Angry that she kept it a secret, they started arguing. Loretta insulted him, saying he was just a pretty face with muscles who got famous for being a romance novel cover model, not a real hero. Alan was hurt. He opened up about his tough life and how hard he worked to get here. At first, he was embarrassed to be the cover model for her books, but after fans said they loved Dash, he felt proud that his image brought people joy. He reminded Loretta never to belittle her own work. He told her as a writer, she should never judge a book or a person by its cover. They walked in silence after that, but were soon chased by armed bikers. Luckily, one of Alan's random traps worked, and they escaped. They found a small village. Alan asked the local police for help. The officers promised to arrest Abigail and arrange a flight for that night. Loretta used a public phone to call Bath, but could only leave a message saying she'd try again later. While waiting, they danced at a beer garden outside the hotel. Loretta was struck by a song the local singer performed. It spoke of a well of tears that never runs dry. She asked the singer about it and realized it described the location of the ancient tomb. They decided to delay their flight and go search for the treasure. Alan went to inform the police, leaving Loretta alone. But Abigail found her again, and he captured Loretta once more. Alan traded his watch for a motorbike, so he could chase after Loretta. When she saw him coming on the bike, she was overwhelmed with emotion. She bragged that her hero had arrived, the deadliest warrior of them all. When the henchmen weren't looking, she set fire inside the car to create chaos. Meanwhile, Alan climbed onto the roof and fought them without fear. But despite his bravery, They were captured outgunned by their enemies. Abigail forced Loretta to reveal the treasure's location. Back on the island, Faith arrived at the police station in the evening. Though it was after hours, her charm persuaded the officers to help search for Loretta. Meanwhile, Abigail led the group to the hidden island too. They followed a narrow path into a deep cave. Abigail, now manic, waved a gun around to force them forward. At last, Loretta discovered the tomb's location, but just as they were about to enter, a loud rumble like an erupting volcano shook the cave. Yafa, the local henchman, said they shouldn't go in, he doesn't want us here, but Abigail ignored him and rushed inside. They found a stone coffin at the center of the chamber. Abigail made them open it, only to be bitterly disappointed. Inside were two skeletons in an embrace, with red shells arranged on their heads like a crown. Loretta read the carvings on the wall. The bodies were King Calaman and his queen. The red shells were the king's daily gift during courtship, not jewels, but a symbol of pure love from the heart. Furious, Abigail forced Alan and Loretta to lie inside the tomb while a volcano threatened to erupt outside. He fled with REFI, but REFI betrayed him, stealing the boat and leaving Abigail behind after seeing how cruel he was. Faith and the police searched the island by boat and ran into Abigail. Pretending to be a victim, he begged for a ride, hiding the truth. Meanwhile, inside the tomb, Alan found that REFI had left behind a metal rod. Alan used it to escape. They ran through the crumbling cave as the volcano roared. With no other option, they jumped into the water and let the current carry them out of danger. They were rescued by Bates' boat. Loretta saw Abigail on board and shouted to expose him as the villain, leading to his arrest at last. Cut to the cover of Loretta's new book, The Crown of Fire, featuring her and Alan standing side by side on a rocky cliff. With a volcano erupting in the background, she used their adventure as inspiration for her latest story. And the book became a massive success, reigniting Loretta's passion for writing once again. After the book launch, Loretta took Faith, her team, and her grandma on a vacation to the island along with Alan, now the real-life hero of her story. Their relationship blossomed, and he truly became her leading actor in the end. And that's where the story ends. This was The Lost City to Otutu, a wild jungle adventure. It scored 6.1 out of 10 on IMDb and received a 79% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes with 80% from viewers. If you enjoy this kind of story, give it a like. You can watch the full movie on Apple TV. Don't forget to subscribe. Khan Studio, signing off from the land of fun and thrills. Goodbye.